Hello, everyone, and welcome to this program introduction webinar. My name is Jeremy Clopton. I'm a director here at Upstream Academy, and I lead the Launching Data Analytics program. I appreciate you all taking the time to join us today, and am excited to share with you about this program. This is a program that we started last year. Our first class went through in June of 2019, and so far we've worked with 50 firms through this program so that I can tell you it works. And I'll just address right out of the gate, a lot of folks wonder, is this program for firms that are trying to use analytics in the audit practice? Is it focused more on revenue generation? Is it more focused on practice management? It's worth noting, the main focus is how can you generate revenue from an analytics service? And that's really what we focus on. However, we also touch on other applications, and we've had firms that have gone through this that have done that have used it from an external perspective, some from an audit-facing perspective, some from a practice management. So please know it does apply across the board, and we will talk through that as we go throughout this program introduction webinar today. Where we're headed, I'm going to break this presentation up into three sections. First, I do want to touch on why we're going to focus on data analytics, why this is important. I don't want to spend an enormous amount of time here, but I'm also going to give a little bit of color and context around what is data analytics within the context of an accounting firm, because I know that is one of the more common questions that we get. From there, we'll talk about the benefits of this program specifically, and then get into the components of the program. Again, there is time at the end for questions, but by all means, if you have questions as we go, please send them in and I'll try to answer them within the context of what we're talking about when you ask that question. No need to wait all the way till the end. And just so you know, in the handouts portion of your GoToWebinar control panel, there is the brochure for the program that'll have some information in there for you also. So right out of the gate, this is still a question and a discussion that I have with firms all the time, and there's a lot of interest in exactly what is data analytics and what does it mean for our profession? How is it going to impact our profession? I still even get the question sometimes, is this going to impact our profession? And I'll tell you right out of the gate, it is not a matter of if analytics will impact the accounting profession. It truly is a matter of when and a matter of how. So I can tell you it will have an impact if it isn't already impacting your firm. And for the firms that are trying to figure out, well, do we even need analytics? How are we going to use this? Please understand that many of you are probably doing at least some basic level analytics already, and you may not realize it. And what's important to remember here is it's going to impact firms in a different way. Every firm will have a slightly different impact from analytics. For some, it is going to be completely transformational from the attest practice. There are some firms out there that are already using artificial intelligence and automated analytics to where their attest practice is focused more on efficiencies than a traditional practice. Some are going to use this as a consulting service, and they're going to focus on how do we generate revenue from analytics. And that's a really important component of this, is how do you generate revenue from analytics? And again, that's really what this is mostly focused on. And then for others, they're going to say, you know what, we're not necessarily focused on how do we transform the audit practice. It's not really how do we use analytics to generate revenue. We're trying to figure out how do we better run our firm. And then there are still others that are going to say, you know what, we want to do all three of these. And this program is designed to really focus on all three of those aspects. And, you know, the other questions that we get, that I get, you know, not about how is it going to impact, but when we think about that, the other thing that's going to vary by firm is the technology that you're likely to use. Some firms are going to focus more on just the traditional analytics. They're going to focus on your ACL, IDEA, Arbutus type of analytics rather than the more advanced artificial intelligence and machine learning. You are welcome to use any of those that you see beneficial to you. The big challenge is figuring out how exactly are you going to have analytics impact your firm. And I always like this quote. It's both the opportunity and it's also the challenge that we face, and that's the data is neutral. It's the people using it that have an agenda. This sums up both the opportunity that your firm is facing, the fact that the data is neutral. It's how you use the data that will drive how successful you are. That's the opportunity, but at the same time, please understand that's a big challenge, because if you aren't quite sure what you want to do with it, the fact that you can use data analytics to do virtually anything can be a very overwhelming feeling. And for a lot of firms, that's actually their big struggle. That's where they're really unsure as to what to do with it. There's too much that we can do. And I can tell you from experience early in my career, and before joining Upstream, I led the big data and analytics practice for a national firm. Early in my career, trying to figure out what we were going to do with analytics was the big challenge. And in fact, that's what took me so long in launching an analytics practice. Was I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. I could come up with 30, 40, 50 different things that we could do, but I struggled to really focus in on what it was that I was going to take to market. So that will become one of your biggest challenges, is what does analytics mean for your firm? What does that mean? That is a bigger challenge than finding the technical expertise. It's going to be a bigger challenge than finding the right software. One of the things that we want to do with you during this boot camp, during this program, is to help you understand what analytics means within the context of your firm. As I mentioned, I've had some firms that have gone through this and they approached it and said, look, Jeremy, we don't want yet to generate revenue. We just want to figure out how can we use this to transform our practice management. And during the entire boot camp, that was their focus. And everything that we talked about, even when we talked about it from a product standpoint and a service offering to clients, there's still a lot of that transitions to, okay, well, how do you offer it internally? They were able to overcome those challenges. Again, I've had firms that have gone through this that have said, we just want to focus first on the attest practice, the audit, and how do we make it better? Again, very similar approach as if you were going to take it to market and generate revenue. There's still a lot of overlap there, so it works in any way, shape, or form. One of the challenges that we have is to help you understand, here's what it means and where you can make the biggest impact within your firm. So some guidance that I want to offer you as you think about why analytics and what does analytics mean, and is this program a good fit? And we'll talk about the program here in just a little bit. One of the very first things that I would offer is the last thing you want to do if you're thinking about offering a data analytics service and offering that to your clients, the last thing that you want to do is overwhelm them with data and just throw more data at them. I can tell you from personal experience, I've done this. I've sent the 65 pages of exhibits of data that I thought was truly what the client was looking for, and it's not really the case. At the end of the day, no matter how you approach this, what you're trying to do is solve a problem. The more that you can focus on problems that you're trying to solve for your clients, the more successful you're going to be in deepening those relationships, strengthening those client relationships, and ultimately the more successful you're going to be in using data analytics to accomplish those goals. And you aren't going to, when we go through this, we're not going to start by talking about technology. We're not going to start by talking about data. We're going to start by talking about what's the problem you're trying to solve. If you're doing this from the audit standpoint, you're likely trying to solve two problems. First, how can we be more effective in our audits? And I realize for many firms that's not first. Normally it's what I'm going to call second. But I want you to focus on first, how can you do a more effective audit? The second would be, how can we become more efficient in our audits? Now, a lot of firms focus on that from the other viewpoint. They say first efficiency, then effectiveness. That's not how it's going to work. First, you will get the effectiveness, and then in time will come the efficiencies. Those are the problems you're trying to solve within the context of an audit. We can help you get there. If you're thinking about it from a practice management standpoint, you're probably thinking through how can we get better at improving our processes so that we drive better results. Maybe that's in billing and collections. Maybe it's in AR management. Perhaps it's in performance management, recruiting, retention of your best people. How do we use data to improve that? Maybe one of the problems that you're trying to figure out is how do we get better at using data to do business development? The bigger problem you're trying to solve there is how do we get more effective at our business development efforts? Data can help you do that. And all of these are things that you can approach, but you've got to figure out what problems are you trying to solve. And I realize the slide says client problems. And again, if we're thinking about generating revenue, client problems are where we generate that revenue. But again, if you're using this internally, your firm is now your client. How do you solve the firm's problems? Maybe it's how do we improve our engagement and our employee engagement levels and improve our firm culture? Maybe that's a problem you're facing. You can use data and analytics to do that as well. Now, if we talk about it from the client problem standpoint, one of the most common questions that I get during the course of this webinar, and then it'll go throughout the course of the program and the work leading up to this program, what client problems should we be trying to solve? What client problems should we be trying to solve? Now, I'm going to give you an answer that you're probably not going to like at the outset, and that is I can't tell you for every single firm out there, every single firm on this call, I can't tell you what the right client problem is for you to solve individually. That's something that you're going to have to figure out for your firm. Now, what I can do, though, is I can offer you this. Some of the most common problems, client problems that I see firms solving as they go through this program, probably the most common problem that we see firms solving and they're taking, as I think about data analytics services they offer to their clients, is the problem around financial transparency and literacy, especially for their small to medium-sized business clients. Many of those clients are likely leveraging your firm, using your firm already as their trusted business advisor. But right now, maybe you're just doing the accounting for them. This could be client accounting services, it could be bookkeeping services, it could be outsourced CFO services. There's a really good chance that they're looking to you to be their financial expert, but they don't yet understand fully the financials, let alone how their decisions operationally translate to the financials. That's probably the most common problem that I see firms looking to solve for their clients using data and analytics. Of the 50 firms that I've worked with throughout this program so far, I would estimate at least 30 to 35. That's one of the services that they're looking to offer their clients is better financial literacy and transparency, understanding how operations tie to financial performance and using data and analytics and visualization to accomplish that. Another area is they're just simply pairing this directly with client accounting services. They're looking to take their client accounting services to the next level through a combination of analytics and visualization and data in that regard. Another really common one that I've seen, a common client problem that I see firms looking to solve is fraud prevention and detection. Now, admittedly, I'm a touch biased in this regard. I spent 12 years with a national firm, and I was in the forensics practice when I launched the big data and led that group. And our initial problems that we focused on were fraud prevention and detection. And the great thing about that is every client has that risk. So if you have experts in fraud prevention and detection, this is a great thing to pair with that. Now, it could be that you've got industry-specific solutions. Healthcare is an industry I see a lot of firms looking to use data and analytics to help their clients get better, whether it's operational, compliance, advisory. If you have internal audit services that you offer your clients, either outsourced or co-sourced, analytics is a great add-on to that as well. One of the things that I want you to understand is when you're focusing on these client problems and you're thinking about launching analytics as a service line or possibly as a standalone niche within your firm, you can look at it from two standpoints. It can be that standalone niche that is so specialized that you've got analytics experts that only focus on analytics, and that is what they do all day, every day. And they serve clients that are looking for analytics solutions. That's one approach. You could say, we're going to have the standalone, but we're looking for a collaborative solution here to where our data analytics niche is going to focus just on helping those clients that are looking for an analytics provider, but at the same time, we're going to pair them with our industry experts in a collaborative way to where the analytics services hit every other niche that we have as well. I've seen firms that have launched analytics, analytics areas, and they pair it with healthcare and banking and M&A activity, as well as forensics and client accounting services. You can use it anywhere. You've got to figure out what clients and what problems for those clients do you want to serve better? Do you want to enhance the service offerings for? That's where you're going to be focusing your efforts. Now, it is worth pointing out now, so you're not surprised later, the business model and the team for your analytics service line will look different than it will for your more traditional service lines, your audit or your tax services. For starters, as we go through this program, one of the fundamental aspects of this is the pricing model that we will encourage you to use, and that is not a time and materials. I'm not going to ask you to bill by the hour. In fact, I'm going to discourage you from ever billing your analytics services by the hour. I want that to be value billing. So that business model is going to look different. We're going to approach profitability from a slightly different standpoint than the traditional utilization or realization. Use this as an opportunity to introduce fresh perspectives and new models into your firm. Now, from a team standpoint, don't get me wrong, you're going to have some accountants. You likely have accountants in your firm that would make outstanding data analytics professionals. Great data analytics service providers because they have the business acumen, the financial expertise, and the tech savviness to go serve clients in this way. But as you grow, you may realize you need programming experts. You may need artificial intelligence and machine learning experts. Those are likely not going to be accounting professionals, which means you now have people that aren't familiar with an accounting mindset and that accounting firm mindset, and you're going to be bringing them on. They're going to be bringing new perspectives, and the way that you manage those team members, the way you manage the productivity measures of that team will likely look different than it will an audit or a tax team. Use this as an opportunity to test out these new perspectives and introduce those new ways to solve some old problems. It's a great opportunity for you to experiment and try new things. As I think back to the team that I led, one of my first hires was a marketing professional. No accounting experience whatsoever. In fact, she had a math degree with a marketing minor and was one of the most successful team members because she understood how to communicate solutions to clients in a way that traditional accountants wouldn't. And I'll admit, I'm a traditional accountant. I'm a CPA. My background is in accounting. I think in numbers and data tables. She didn't. She thought in messaging. She thought in images. She had a way to communicate that traditional accountants couldn't. Those team members will think differently. They will challenge your status quo, and that is such a great thing that you're going to add into that. As you think about this analytics service line, you do have, even though this may be consulting, and you may be thinking about analytics projects individually, with the proper planning and intentionality, this can be an annuity model. It can drive organic revenue growth, and it can transform your traditional services into ongoing advisory services. We don't approach this program by trying to help you create a new consulting line where you're going to have to refill the bucket year after year after year. Again, I can tell you from experience, you could approach an analytics service that way, but once you make that change in your mind, that you're going to focus on this as an annuity model, the way that you price things, the way that you approach solving problems, the way that you approach leverage will completely transform the service line. We focus on this from the standpoint of how do you build an annuity model into what might otherwise be thought about as an ad hoc project mindset. We want this to be something that has the potential to transform your firm, to add new revenue growth, organic and otherwise, create an ongoing annuity advisory service line for your firm, whether it's standalone, just analytics, or whether it's paired with another industry vertical or niche. Whatever approach you take, we want this to be built in an annuity mindset. So we'll be talking about things like leverage, approaching problems from a recurring mindset, subscription models to where people are subscribing on a monthly basis. Think iTunes and how you subscribe to apps and you have them and you use them and you don't even think about it because you're getting that value. We're going to be talking about it from that standpoint. Some of the benefits that you're going to get from this new service line, it's going to drive organic growth. That'll be a really big benefit that we're going to be looking to get you here. It's going to help differentiate and position your firm in the marketplace. I've talked to some firms that have said, look, we're losing work because our competitors say they're doing analytics and we don't. You need to be doing analytics. You need to recognize the analytics you're already doing and differentiate yourself. Position yourself properly in the market. Don't be losing those projects because you don't say you're using analytics when in all likelihood maybe you are. We'll talk about that. I want you to be able to develop rewarding career opportunities because as you look at new hires coming out of college right now and even experienced professionals, they're looking for analytics. They're looking for that tech savvy, that progressive firm that's looking to use new ways to solve old problems. You're going to be able to help your clients. That's the very baseline principle of business development. You're going to help your clients improve operations, which means that as you help them, they're going to look to you for more services. So your business development is within your projects. You're building business by helping them build their business. Analytics is an approach that can help you with that. You could improve your firm practice management. And the other thing is you're going to be proactively disrupting the status quo using technology. Don't wait for a time where you realize you're behind. I realize as we think about our profession, we aren't exactly known as being the most progressive industry in adopting new technologies. Some firms are. As an industry, we're not. You need to get to where you are proactively adopting new technologies and disrupting yourself and the status quo so that you are growing and keeping up with that and you don't fall behind. All right, so that's what we're talking about from a why data analytics standpoint. Now let's talk briefly, just a few minutes here, about the benefits of our program, and then I want to lay out the program components. Again, if you've got questions, please send those in. I'd be happy to answer any and all of those as we go along here. So the benefits, first and foremost, if you look at most programs, roundtables, conferences, seminars that are out there on analytics, generally speaking, they either discuss analytics at a very theoretical level or they talk about a very specific application, how-to approach to how somebody has done something with analytics, and it's very technical. I'll admit, I've given those presentations that discuss it at the theoretical level, and I've also walked through the how-to. There aren't a lot of sessions out there, if any, that focus on here is how to build out an analytics service line and create a practice within your firm that's going to generate revenue. That's generally not how it's approached. Simply put, in an hour or two long session at a conference, you couldn't do that. You couldn't give it the justice to do that appropriately. Now, if you think about what we do here at Upstream, we've long been a proponent of exploring new ways to serve clients. We're always talking about new service opportunities. How do you help clients get better? What are you looking to do that's new that can help your clients every single day? We focus a lot on processes. We have frameworks. We have a methodology to help firms get to high performance. That's at the management level, the partner level, high-performing partners. We look at leadership as a process. This is the first program that we've put together that actually takes you step by step on how to launch a new service line. A very specific service line is data analytics. So again, some of the feedback that I've gotten from past participants is they've said, Jeremy, yeah, we're focusing on analytics within this program, but I can take these principles back and apply it to my SALT practice or to my cyber practice or to my risk management practice. I can go apply this to any other practice in the firm and the principles translate. Yeah, we talked about it within the context of data analytics, but it can go anywhere else. And what we do, the reason that that works is we're focused on providing you knowledge, a framework, and a strategy to help you execute on creating a new analytics service line. Right? So whether it's external client facing, generating revenue, whether it's implementing it internally to help with practice management, or whether it's a combination thereof, or even if it's helping to make your audit more efficient, we are going to give you the knowledge, the framework, and the strategy that lays it out. Here's how to get from what I call the what is analytics phase to we've launched an analytics service line phase. And we lay that out for you step by step along the way. And we've had, I've had managing partners that have gone through this with their teams, and they've said at the very start, hey, Jeremy, before we get going, what does analytics even mean? Could somebody please explain that to me? And we start very basic with that, and we work through it. So that's the benefits of this program. It is designed to give you the actionable steps to be successful. So let's talk now about the program components. And I'm going to start off real quickly with the instructors. I am the lead instructor for this program. Again, I built and then launched and led a big data and analytics practice at a national accounting firm. I've been a speaker nationally on analytics. Primarily, it was originally focused on fraud prevention and detection, and then much more broadly, at both a national and an international level. I've spoken at user group conferences for ACL, IDEA, Arbutus. I've spoken there. I'm a faculty member for the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. This is an area that I focus on and have focused on before joining Upstream, and I did it through the lens of actually starting an analytics practice. So I will tell you, it took me closer to 6 years to go from the idea of starting a practice to actually doing it. I learned a lot along the way. And what I've done is I've taken all of those lessons and tried to combine them into this. Our other instructor is Heath Alloway. He's our newest member of the Upstream Academy team. He comes to us also from a national firm where he launched new service lines and firm-wide growth initiatives for that firm. I know Heath well, and he has the ability to take what he's learned from that large firm perspective and apply it to firms of all sizes, because he focuses on the frameworks. And he's a big believer that growth happens regardless of the size of the firm and regardless of the budget. You can be innovative and grow and create new service lines with what you have where you're at if you are intentional. He's a great resource at the local all the way to the national level on growth and innovation. So he will be the other instructor as we go throughout this. And we've modified this program a little bit this year to make it virtual. But the modifications didn't change our goal. Our goal is that you walk away from this program with the plan and the steps that you need to successfully launch an analytics service line within your firm. Everything start to finish. And I'll talk through the plan for the program here in just a moment. To do that, some of the things that we will help you do, we'll help you understand what's required to actually launch a successful analytics service line. We'll talk software. We'll talk go-to-market strategy. We'll talk business development internally, externally, quality control, infrastructure, profitability, recruiting. We'll talk about all of that. We'll then build out a plan to create and grow your analytics service line. I will tell you, it's not a traditional business plan with all the fluff and the descriptions in there. It's an action plan that breaks it down by service that you're going to take to market. And then we will put in that plan the steps necessary to execute on that and launch your successful service line. And we lay it out over a 180-day plan. 180 days from the time that this program is over is the way that we lay out that plan. I've had firms that have used that plan and executed in as little as 2 months, 60 days from the time that we concluded the program. And I've had others that have said, you know what, for us, 180 days is just a bit too ambitious. So we're going to stretch that out maybe to 12 months. You make the timeline work for you. We lay out the plans in the order that's necessary across that timeline to drive success within your firm. I've got a question that just came in from John. Michael Silver, the question, but specific data analytics software or products that we would recommend, and how do you know which one to work with? John, that's a great question. We will talk about that specifically. We help you go through and figure out what the problems are you're going to be solving for your clients, and then go find the software that helps with that. So I'm going to come back to that question in just a minute. One, to let you know I got it. I'm going to give you some specific examples here in just a minute. As we think about the program and who it's for, I get this question a lot. Who is this program designed for? Do I have to be an IT expert? Do I need to be a programmer or a coder to go through this? The answer is no. You don't have to be tech savvy at all. Don't get me wrong. It's going to help a little bit to have a knowledge as to what you could use analytics for. You don't have to know how to program. You don't have to know how to code. You don't have to know how to do a VLOOKUP. This is designed for the launch team, and what we categorize as the launch team is the group of individuals that are responsible for building and leading this new service line. So you may have a partner that has ownership over the success of this service line. That person needs to be part of the launch team. If you've got a manager, a senior manager, that maybe they're the one that's responsible for it, and they're going to be leading it, but you've got an executive sponsor and a partner, I want both of those folks on here. And I will tell you, of the firms that have gone through this, about a third, maybe 20 to 30%, somewhere in that vicinity, have had their managing partner attend. And those managing partners wanted to know exactly what this was so that they could provide that executive sponsorship necessary to make it successful. We've had, I think the youngest professional that's gone through this had 2 years of experience. And that firm actually brought the managing partner, somebody with 2 years of experience, and then a new partner, and the three of them worked together. That younger individual was actually the one tasked with leading it. The partner was the executive sponsor, and the managing partner wanted to be there to support. Your launch team will be very specific to your firm. It's typically somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 5 individuals. The most common is 3, where you're going to be able to bring the ideas, know how you're going to serve your clients, and be able to build out a successful launch plan. You got to know enough about the firm to do that. With the purchase of the program, here's what you get with that. You get the Launching Data Analytics online tutorial. So you will get that. That's a video tutorial that I put together that walks you through your homework, which is the Bootcamp Preparation Workbook, in advance of the bootcamp. This is not a passive program where you're just going to sit and listen for those 5 days. You do need to do homework in advance. You'll actually submit your completed workbook to me in advance of the program, so I have the opportunity to review that, because we're going to be working not only as a group but also one-on-one with each of your firms throughout this to help you be successful. You'll get 5 days of 2-hour sessions that will make up the boot camp. Those will be held in the morning, or I say in the morning. Yeah, for every time zone, it should be the morning, 10 to 12 Central Time. Each day, June 15th through the 19th. And then you will also have 5 days of office hours with both of the instructors. So with both Heath and I, we will have open office hours so that we can meet one-on-one with each of your firms that participates to answer your specific questions and help you build your specific launch plan. Right? So the sessions, the 2-hour sessions, will be our discussion presentation. We'll have some back and forth. We'll have some interactivity in those. But then once we break from the main session, we will go into smaller sessions where your teams will be collaborating individually, and then we will be available to meet with each of the firms individually to help answer your specific questions and consult with you on what it is that you need to be successful. Data Analytics 101 is the online tutorial. It's going to help you understand better what analytics means for your firm. What's your initial area of focus going to be? Is it going to be a test, advisory, practice management, what have you? It's going to help you start to identify client needs, help get you thinking about your competitors, your firm's differentiators, and it's going to help you figure out who is your launch team. Who do you need to bring to these 5 sessions? From there, you'll get the Bootcamp Preparation Workbook. This workbook will guide you through gathering the information and the initial planning that you need to be successful during the actual virtual bootcamp sessions. That's what you'll need prior to that. And a question that just came in here, do we have plans to repeat the bootcamp later in 2020? Barry, great question. At this point, we don't have another one on the calendar yet. Traditionally, the seated boot camps, we do have a firm capacity on that because we can only hold so many in a given location. With the virtual offering here in June, we are not capping the number of firms that will be able to participate. So at this point, we don't have another one on the calendar yet. With everything going on with COVID-19 and everything, we will make that decision later on based on how things are going, but right now we don't have another one on the calendar just yet. Thank you for that question. So once you've gone through the tutorial, once you've gone through the preparation, then you actually have the boot camp itself, June 15th through the 19th. We'll meet for 2 hours a day, 10 a.m. to noon Central Time. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk through, and I'm going to give you the agenda for each of those days here in just a second. How do we define the service? How are you going to make money? How will you recruit? How do you build customer base? And how do you then tie all of this together? That's the broad principles there. Each of these bootcamp sessions will qualify for CPE purposes. So the preparatory work does not. The 2 hours each day, so it'll be 2 hours each day for 5 days. Kelsey, please correct me if I misstate that. That should be 12 hours of CPE that we are going to be able to offer for that. It'll be 600 minutes. So you will have 12 hours of CPE by going through this, and that will be for each of the individuals that are registered and attends those sessions. Each day will have the different codes associated with each of them, and we'll help you with those logistics obviously closer to time. So the boot camp itself, again, in the morning, 2 hours a day for 5 days. Then we will hold office hours each day of the boot camp. Our thought right now, and I'm just going to put this out there for clarity, our thought right now is that the office hours will be each afternoon. Now, Heath and I are both in the central time zone, so if we don't start until 10, theoretically, if we needed to, we could hold some open office hours in the morning for our East Coast firms each of the days, if need be. We'd be happy to do that. We'll figure that out based on who all is registered, what time zones you're in. But please know, every firm that registers, regardless of your time zone, will have access to office hours with both of us, with both of the instructors. And that's designed, again, to allow you to ask as many questions as you want, one-on-one with us. You don't have to ask it in the large group, so we can help you specifically with your plan and overcome any hurdles that you may encounter or you may expect to encounter along the way. Here's the direction we're going to head. The bootcamp agenda, number one, day one, we're going to focus on defining the service line. We start with the end in mind, and then we're going to identify what are the services you're going to offer your clients. That does not mean saying we're going to offer data analytics. That means specifically what is the service that you will take to the market, what's the market look like that you're going to take it to. We'll help you identify 3 to 5 services that will become your first services to launch the data analytics service line in your firm. Day 2 is all about making money. How are you going to price your services? What are your differentiators? How are you going to message your differentiators and your pricing? And we're also going to talk about it through the lens of annuity work. How do you price it for annuity work as well? So first is defining the service, then it's pricing and making money with the service. Day 3 is recruiting team members. We'll talk about the team members, internal advocates. How are you going to communicate the value add for the firm? And identifying those people inside the firm that are so key to the success of this, and how are you going to get them on board to have a successful launch. Day 4 is building the customer base. It is all about business development and growth. We'll talk about your first clients. We'll talk about your next clients. We'll talk about your never want to have them clients. We'll talk about all of that to get you a good strategy so that before you even leave this, you already know who your first clients will be and who you're going to approach there. And then day 5 is going to be putting it all together. Key processes. How do you manage change? That's what this is in your firm, is it's change. You're going to have to drive change. How do you do that successfully? And then we'll conclude with everybody's key takeaways from the session. Now, one of the questions that came in earlier, John, you had asked again, specific software or product. We'll talk about that as we go throughout this. Mainly, we talk software on day 5. That's when we talk about most of the software considerations. Now, we will talk a little bit about software on day 1 and possibly a little bit in day 2, because once you've identified your products or your service that you're going to take to the market, then you'll have to figure out what's the software that you're going to need and how could you use that to deliver the service to the client. We'll be able to guide you as to what some of the best solutions would be for your specific service offerings. We've got some folks that, we've got connections with some of the software vendors out there. Right off the top, I can think, we've got connections and have worked in the past with Galvanize, which used to be ACL, IDEA at Automation Services, Arbutus, Tableau, Click, King Corp. We've got contacts at each of those that if you find one that you're looking for, we will be able to get that. We'll be able to get that for you. Antonio, if your firm is, great question here. If your firm has already had somebody that's gone through this training, should you work directly with that person? I would encourage you work with that person. See if what they've already gotten, you can just build on that. If not, and you've already gone through this, will you go, reach back out to me individually. And if you're looking to go through it again, from a different standpoint in the firm, reach out to me and I want to talk to you one-on-one about that if that would be helpful. Colleen, we will share this information. This webinar will be made available to you through a recording. It will be on our website so that you can share it with leadership and in talking about who should attend. You've also got the LDA brochure is in your GoToWebinar handouts section, and you will be able to get that. And I believe I'm pulling that up right now because I don't want to misspeak. We do have a little bit in there as to what the boot camp will have. You'll see day 1 through 5 is in there. It's a little bit smaller, but I'm happy to help with that. As far as let's see, other questions. Are the sessions recorded for playback similar to ELA? Yes, if you go through this, we will make the sessions will be available to your firm to play back later. So a great point, with the tax deadline now being July 15th, you work through the boot camp, you go through the live sessions, you want to revisit something at a later time, we will get you recordings of that. You won't be able to get CPE from the recordings. So that's really important to note there. CPE will only be available for the live sessions. When we send the recordings, that won't be available. Other questions that you might have as we go through this. So that was day 5. I'm open to any questions. I'm also going to put my email address up here. So if you want to email me questions as well, I've got some more that have come in. I'll work through answers now. From Corey, in the past, have you had a team use deep learning to provide a product? If the course, or if so, will the course cover example of end products they provided to their clients? Corey, I haven't had anybody that has gotten to the deep learning side yet. We have had a couple firms that are using artificial intelligence-based solutions combined with some bots, but we haven't had anybody that has gone deep learning yet. So I don't have any of their products to share with you. That said, I'm happy to do some introductions and could point you in the direction of some folks. Shoot me an email. Happy to connect you with some folks that you could talk to in that regard that have gone through the program that are what I would call a bit more advanced in their product offerings. Another question here from Matthew. Do you have an idea of what initial startup costs are for a firm to launch a data analytics service line? Matthew, that's a great question. For firms that are already using solutions like IDEA or Tableau, ACL, Arbutus, something like that, Realistically speaking, you could probably start an analytics service line for no additional costs outside of some of the business development that you might need to do. Many firms are already set up to be HIPAA compliant, and they already have a lot of the security risks under control. Just the nature of what we do as a profession, that's the case. So they're able to start that up a little bit lower cost-wise. If you don't have any software, you're obviously going to have the startup costs related to software. Software for basic analytics projects, is generally, I'm going to call it anywhere from $1,000 to $5,000 a license. Most of it is probably in the lower end of that, Matthew. If you're looking to get into the healthcare space and you're not already HIPAA compliant, that's going to be probably a big cost there. So you can do it for a relatively low startup cost. You can also, if you're looking to go higher end, you're looking to go into the industries that have greater security concerns and just more compliance issues around data being PCI compliant or HIPAA compliant, you could end up costing yourself having higher startup costs. So a lot of it will depend on what direction you're looking to head. Some costs of the startup costs can be passed along to clients, especially if you have interactive platforms through, say, a Tableau or a Power BI. Some of the licensing costs can actually be passed along to the clients, which helps to offset some of the startup costs. Let's see, how much time will it take to get a data analytics program running? Again, that varies by firm. It feels like from talking with most firms that 6-month mark has been a pretty good mark for them, that if they've gone through it in June, by the end of the year, they were able to do that. Obviously, with the tax deadline being extended to July, that maybe throws some wrenches in there. But for a lot of firms, those that are starting this aren't on the tax side anyway. They're more on the consulting side. So it's going to depend on your ability to allocate time appropriately. Again, the fastest that I've seen has been about 2 months, and we've had some that have extended it out to closer to a year. All right, that looks to be all of the questions that I've got right now. Again, thank you all so much for joining us for this program introduction webinar. I would encourage you, if you're looking to do this again, sign up as early as possible so you have the ability to get into that homework. Being virtual, again, we're not going to cap the number of firms that are participating like we have in the past. So I would encourage you, since we are having this session and not knowing about one later in the year, if you have the opportunity, this would be a good one to do. And if you have questions that I can answer outside of the questions that I've already covered, please send me an email, jeremyc@upstreamacademy.com. I'd be happy to answer any and all questions that I can. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.